Marseille. To us, Marseille is a place to work, a good port, much industry and business. I'm a deckhand on a river barge that comes here often to deliver a cargo. When we arrived this time, we carried 350 tons of steel plates. This trip was one of great happiness for me. My girls were going to come with me on their vacation. I sent them to school here in Marseille, and it is seldom we can be together. We took on a cargo of cellulose for a factory in Lyon. Lyon, you know, is up the Rhone River. There are fine rivers in France, highways of water for our river barges. And between the rivers are many canals that tie our country together. The rivers and canals join others that link us with Germany and Belgium and the Netherlands and the North Sea. On this trip, Marie and Jeanette will travel for 3 weeks to Strasbourg, where they will visit some of our family.
That first day, the wind started to blow so hard that Marie and I could hardly walk on the deck. Often hot air rises in Africa, which makes the wind sweep down from the Alps. Sometimes the wind blows for many days, but the next day there was quiet and peace across the flat kilometers of the delta of the Rhone.
Do not think I spend all my time playing the harmonica. I take care of our big 800 horsepower engines. Sometimes I measure the depth of the water and signal the captain. The captain, he was very unhappy because the water was so shallow this summer. Sometimes I take the wheel so the captain can rest, or eat, or visit with the wife and the baby. And then sometimes I scrub the deck, as we did that afternoon coming into Arles.
They say that there are more Roman ruins here in the south of France than any place outside of Rome. That is the great Roman arena of Arles. Up the river we pass another ruin, a castle from medieval times. We wondered what those old swordsmen would think of France's first atomic plant next door. And on another day, we passed a bridge that was built at the time of the Crusades, the famous bridge of Avignon. We have a song about it.
Sur le pont d'Avignon, l'on y danse, sur le pont d'Avignon, l'on y danse tout en rond.
I see these old ruins and towns too often, but to Marie and Jeanette it was a parade that passed by for 10 days. One day, we gave assistance to a family on an old barge. Most children live with their families on the barges all the time. It is their only home. They do not even go to school, as my children do in Marseille, but they must get their lessons by mail. And then too soon we were at Lyon. I must go back with my barge to Marseille, so I must say au revoir to my girls. At Lyon, Marie and Jeanette went with my brother George, who works on the Camaret, the barge of their grandfather and grandmother. The Camaret is smaller than my barge, built to go through the canals. It was loading iron ore for Strasbourg.
Carmel was born and raised and had her 4 children on a river barge. She is, I think, maybe the cleanest woman in France. On their boat, they do not wear the wooden sabot in the cabin or the wheelhouse, even though the boat belongs to a big company and not to them. Only Grandpa's puppy goes inside without taking off his shoes. It was raining in the morning when we left Lyon. People under shiny umbrellas hurried to work, many to make silk and rayon and nylon, the beautiful cloth that makes this beautiful city famous. The next day, the rain stopped long enough for Grandmère to do another wash. And that afternoon, we passed the old houses of Chalon-sur-Saône. It was here we saw a canal that left the river.
The Canal de Centre. It links us with the Seine River and our great Paris. But now the boat of my father will go this way, up the Saône River, then up the Doubs. Sometimes in the river, sometimes in a canal. Finally, it will meet the Rhine at Strasbourg. Now the river was passing the famous vineyards of Burgundy. France grows so many grapes that in some years we have produced half the world's supply of wine. The wealth of our country is in our good soil, and the farmer who works to get this wealth from his small farm is the most important person in France. We all must work, of course, as people must work all over the world. The man in the city, the man in the factory, the man on the canal boat. We learn when we are young that there is much work to do if we are to enjoy our share of the riches of our land.
On the canal, work often does not stop until dark. My sister and I have been spoiled by school in the city where we have classes only from 8 until 4 o'clock. A barge is a way to earn a living, but it is also a home. In France, we are proud to keep our homes in good order. There are many special things to learn about living on a canal barge. The puppy was learning. It is time I learned. I too may be married someday to the captain of a barge. You must not think that life on the Camaret was all work. There were old friends that we met and visited along the way. When we spent the night near a town, there was perhaps time to go shopping. Uncle George bought for us our first sabot. And Grandpère began to teach me how to run the Camaret.
At times, the barge must leave the river where it is too shallow and go into a canal through a lock. The barges are built as big as the locks will allow, and sometimes there are only 2 inches on each side to spare. When the barge is in the lock, the gates are closed behind it. The water is let in from above to raise the barge to the level of the canal. There you can see the river below. This canal was built by the prisoners of war of Napoleon. In those days, the barges were pulled by horses walking along the towpath. In places, the canal runs beside the river, separated only by a wall. Once it goes through a tunnel. And at one place, the canal even goes across a bridge, which is over a river. was something to watch. There were the old towns. There were the factories built along the canal to take advantage of the water transportation. There were power lines coming from the hydroelectric plants in the Alps not far away, bringing power to the Peugeot automobile factory. There was the traffic of our busy nation. Of course, most of the traffic made not so much noise. And then there was the beauty of the mist drifting over the Sunday morning fishermen. There was the splendor of the summer days. And always there was more work to do. Sometimes the grandmother would swing ashore to go shopping where the cabaret had to stop to go through another lock. One day the girls went to do the shopping. I am afraid they are not yet quite as good as the grandmother. In small towns all over France, there are market days once a week. The farmers and their wives who do not live in town come to sell what they have and buy what they need. These people who raise the produce of the land are half the people of France. Half the people. It is a great many. Each man is his own master on his own small farm. This man is perhaps the main reason that France is different from her neighbors.
We did not buy everything in the market, however. The next morning we found one of our favorite dishes on the bank of the canal. Escargot. Snails, you call them. Let me tell you how we cook the escargot. First they are cleaned and then they are boiled. While I chop parsley and garlic, grand-père and grand-mère take the meat out of the shell. The parsley and garlic are mixed in butter. Then the butter and meat are put in the shell. At about this time, my sister and I get very hungry. Knows how we love to eat and drink in France. But do not think, please, that it is just the fine restaurants in the big cities that have fine foods.
For 20 days, Marie and Jeanette traveled up the Rhone River, up the Saône, up the Doubs, up in each lock. Finally, they come to the divide where they started down a staircase of locks, one after another into Alsace and the valley of the Rhine. Forest over in Germany. Across the rich fields, the church steeples began to have the look of another country. There were silent pillboxes. And then they were in Strasbourg, where ships come from the ports of the North Sea. This is adieu. This is the end of the journey. Each journey